That's what the Constitution says, and I've never known it to go against anybody anyway. But as I say, make full use of it, especially the reflector groups, Dave. If you're looking for stuff, I want the reflector group. I think most of the people, the Webos members here will say that we've all done it and we've all had success. So look forward to that, and look forward to seeing you at some of the events, Dave. As I say, great society, and as I say, great lot of knowledge and some superb equipment. And just ignore me with the army junk jab, as it were. I only say that to wind up certain people. Anyway, well, all signals are pretty good at the present moment, and all fairly static. As Ian said, Tony, on your last day there was some crackling on the audio, so you got a loose connection, but it was all Q5. Good morning to Mike. Your carrier strength over here, Mike. I could hear most of what you're saying, and on speech peaks, the mod was coming up to about 50%, but most of the time it was way below that, so you're going to have to shout that up. You've still got a very broad carrier at the bottom there, so there's a fair bit of hum still getting in. I can't hear it, but I can certainly see it. So that shouldn't really be there. So it's not a clean transmission. You've got further work to do. And I think a lot of your problems, as I've often said, are power supplies. And yes, impedance to drive an 1154 out is about 8 ohms, and that works out very nicely because an awful lot of transistorized modules are tuned for 8 ohms. So anyway, I'm sure you'll like it there. 7-3 to you, Ray, if you're still listening. Brian and Trevor, I should think, sorry, not Brian, Liz and Trevor. Apologies, Brian, signing you out before your time. Coming up to that time, though. And you're only one removed. So I won't prattle on. I will. Just saying, and your problem with the 19 set, if the thing is causing problems when you increase the voltage, well, the thing that's going to happen is you're going to increase the RF output. So I reckon you got RF floating around that chassis where it shouldn't be, Ian. And I don't know the circuit, but I'm pretty certain that there will be a choke in the anode. End of the choke, there'll be a decoupling. That's the first culprit that I would look at, because if you're getting any RF, which you shouldn't be because there's a choke, but if you're getting any RF into the power supplies, that's causing the problem. So look at all the decoupling caps, give them a really serious look, and change them if need be, because in my experience with RA17s, I took out a lot of paper capacitors. They looked, when I put them on the bridge, they were totally open circuit, doing nothing. Round to you, Dave. G8YFH, M1PBC.
Golf 3 Tango Sierra Kilowatt, good morning.
G8YFH. Yeah, I'm near enough on. Hang on, I've got speech coming back from the earphones. I have to put on stop the hole so the audio doesn't speak. Pick one for the station with a low audio on a 19 set. Get yourself a tannoy microphone and you will find that will give you plenty of audio. That's what I use. I use the tannoy mic and headset, and that does very well. This is still the oil fleet's dropped off. Got it. Doing that one-handed. Anyway, okay, thanks for the appreciation there for me joining. Well, you won't be around till 8 if you phone. I was good morning to Dave. You're a terrific signal this morning. Absolutely cracking in your switching on your audio at one point there. And I heard Colin signing, so I put it around to DP1 when I'm finished. And then told me put it to Martin, DPYJO. You could signal on the call in there, Colin. I thought you doubled with Dave when you called in. I did hear you, no problem at all. Yeah, well, I hope you find a transformer, Dave. I did have a 19-sector Shortwave, and my son still lost me to the Second World War military vehicle. Wasn't got a lot of books in it, including the meter. Listen with the but it was into civil defence bunker over the Overland, standing into the water at the time, lucky enough on its back. But unfortunately without the case on it. The case was there, they found the case. There we are, that was many years ago. Long time since I had that. Right, I'm going to put it to Colin. A very good morning to you, Colin. Good morning and goodbye, so to speak. Cornflakes call, and I've got several places I've got to go to this morning. I've got a bit of a busy morning, Friday morning. But it was a nice signal on call, Colin. And if you could put it to Martin when we're finished. 2SK to 4LJC with a group. Over to you, Colin.
Yeah, Roger. Fine, thank you very much there, Brian. A lovely signal from you. Nice to hear you this morning. Now I heard Dave. Very good signal, Dave. Really, really good. If that's the 19 setters really doing well, you came through 5 and 9 plus. Lovely clear signal. So that's fine. And am I to gather that you're joined the society? Did I get a little bit from Paul about that? But I did hear Paul, really cracking signal, S plus 40, just like the old days. So there you go. But I'm monitoring myself here. I've got instruments all over the place. So it could be a flashover, you know. You've mentioned about peaks. Keith's mentioned about interference, or I heard a little bit of it on the SDR site, and it seemed to me that it could well be a flashover. So maybe I'm looking in the wrong place. Anyway, I've got this all hooked up as if I was in hospital, I had all these instruments around me. But it happened so briefly that it's difficult, I can't replicate the fault. Anyway, enough from that. What day is it? Well, it looks alright. And we had a good day yesterday. But it has been raining during the night. It's been raining very hard during the night, so there's a bed of water on the ground there. Okay then. Oh, by the way, I'll just turn down the modulation a bit, just in case, and see if we get over the problem like that. So I would be obliged if we've got any feedback. It's very annoying. So Martin, I hope you're in good voice. Going to put it back to you there now. And I wonder what you've been doing with yourself. G3YGO from Golf 3 Tango Sierra Kilowatt. Go ahead, Martin, please. Over.
G3XGW, good morning.
G3XGW, good morning,
Keith, I will put it on to you. Let me XGW. I'll put it on to you, Keith. And after that, Keith goes on to Mike. And then I think from Mike to Tony YH. And whilst on that, Tony, yes, there was a sort of increased scratching. but there was something loose somewhere, but nothing lost in intelligibility. Good morning to you, Colin. Well, you were peaking sort of 15 over 9 and then dipping down to about S8, so kind of quite deep QSB, but perfectly Q5 throughout, and a nice signal. Modulation sounded fine to me. Mike, your carrier was 10 over, and got everything. You were Q5, but I was having to pay attention because it was sort of up and down a bit, modulation-wise, as Paul has already mentioned. Very nice signal, 10 over 9 on the 19 set. And again, welcome to the fold. And Ian, in Brittany, you were peaking 15 over 9 actually, Ian, but most of the time hovering around about 5 over 9, so very nice signals indeed this morning. And Keith, you were a strong signal, sort of 9 plus onto the meter on your call in, but it was sounding very nice indeed, very nice modulation as always. And for those new joiners on the wireless at 53 this morning, and it looks like a nice sunny day, so hopefully it'll be a nice bright one. And not much more to add actually today, so I think in good voice you said, reasonable voice I think, because it's pre-Elixir. So I'm going to pull on the wireless headphones and go down and switch on the Elixir engine and keep listening. If it comes back to me unexpectedly, I don't reply. It's because I'm still down the other end of the empire, so just keep moving. But I think the Elixir beckons. Yeah, that's it. So, over to you without further ado there, Keith, and very nice signal this morning. G3XGW, G3YO.
YJO and the group G3XGW. Yes, fine. Oh, a very big signal. Martin on the end stop basically, which most of the time, which must be 30 over at least, I should think, on this 680. It's actually only calibrated up to 18, but I kind of extrapolate from there on, albeit it's probably not very accurate, although it is calibrated at S9. And morning to who else have I heard? I've heard Colin. Yes, you were a good signal as well, Colin, with no sign of your little problem at the moment. And Dave, I heard Dave. I wasn't looking at a meter at the time, Dave, but you were pretty good most of the time, occasionally dipping down. And it's a lovely morning here as well, Martin. We've got blue sky. It's only about 14 degrees, but it really does look very bright out there. I think we're going to get showers apparently today. So there are things to be done outside before the weather starts to fall over seriously. I've started doing some outside painting somewhat belatedly, but hopefully I might finish that tomorrow. And who else have I heard? I haven't heard Tony yet. Good morning to you, Tony. And Brian, cheers to you. I've stopped any cornflakes by now, I should imagine. So you were a pretty good signal as well. I heard some discussion about 19 sets from Dave about not transmitting on the same frequency they receive on, which is always an interesting problem, isn't it? Because if you think about it, if you're zero beating the received signal with the BFO is on the right frequency and the local oscillator's on the right frequency, when you reverse the process, it should come out exactly on frequency. And something's moving. But there is some complication. If it's a British Mark III, Dave, I'm not sure which model it is, there is some complication in there, all centered around the heterodyne tone control, which is obviously only supposed to be used in circuit in CW. And there's some compensation arrangements, and I can't quite remember them, but it's quite a complex little bit of circuitry. And I seem to remember there's a one-turn link on that BFO coil to compensate for shift between receive and transmit. So I seem to remember being key to the problem. But I seem to when I had a problem with mine once, when the core fell off the end of the adjuster in the BFO coil, and I had to take it all apart and glue the core back on the end of the adjuster. After that, I initially had the problem, but in that case, just by adjusting the BFO relative to the local oscillator, I managed to get it back correct again. So I think it's the relative position of that, in conjunction with this little dodging link or whatever it is. Anyway, I think Colin's done quite a bit of research on it as well, so we might find some information there. What else? Moving on round, I think somebody said Mike, so I'm guessing that's G3MHX. So over to you, Mike. G3XGW. Squeak.
I'm sure that's Mike's carrier. BBC. G3MHX, are you there, Mike? Because I can only just hear you, and I can't see any mod at all, so that mic is not working. Round to you, Tony, G3YYH, M1PBC.
Thank you, Paul. 1 second. Nothing at all heard from Mike, nothing at all. I mean, literally nothing. No sector carrier and no mod, so there we are. I've just twiddled the output stage of the wireless at 19, so I've probably got the whole 1 3/4 going into the LVAC. So it might be a slightly improved signal, which it might be as well, because conditions are taking a bit of a dive now, of course. Good morning to Colin. It's all here. No signal report, but actually 59 plus. And good morning to Keith. Long time since we've spoken, Keith. Much too long. Perhaps it's about time we had a beer again. That was extremely pleasant, actually, but I don't know how you're fixed over the next few days, but that'll be excellent. A good signal from you as well, Keith, of course. And interestingly enough, I've never really cracked the BFO on 190%. That wasn't a priority back when we were working on it, Keith, because we were working on it for, if you remember, for a particular event, 90% event last winter. Or was it the winter before? Can't remember now. And the BFO wasn't a priority, but not a sweep for the BFO. But there we are. That's one of the sub-projects for this winter, perhaps. I'm going to say my 73s now because I need to go and get some breakfast and move on. But good to talk to you all this morning. Where would it go from me? It would go to Ian, if Ian's still there. And Ian, I would echo the bit about that Dave YFH said about the coil 7. Mine was burnt out, and that was one of the problems that stopped mine from transmitting. And now mine doesn't have the coil, because the coil, I think, is there for part of the circuit, the feedback loop from the high power amplifier. So it might be worth just taking it out of the loop and seeing what you get. F4VFC G3YYH.
I think somebody may have called in keyed up as they did, but not sure. We'll find out in a minute. But anyway, 73 then, Tony, 73 also to Brian. Good morning to you, Colin, you're 5 and 8. Totally on your signal. But 100% copy, so no problem. Well, thanks for the work tonight. In fact, on my power meter, which I don't think is very accurate at that level, I can only actually read about just under a watt output. Whereas my other 19 set, I can actually peak it up to nearly 3 watts. So anyway, so there are things to look at. But the other thing that it doesn't have any problem with at all is the tracking between the transmit and the receive, and it's absolutely smack on. I was quite surprised about that, because I did have a problem with my original 19 with the tracking, and I did manage to sort it out. I got it within about within 100. I think the Canadian one is 200. I think that's what it is from memory. I may be wrong. But anyway, I'll certainly look at the decoupling caps. I probably need to get a few more. They seem to be OL power. I've got the OL power. And rewiring the B-set relay reconnected. Well, and the other one, because I just connected them both. So rewiring them was a very interesting exercise. It took a hell of a long time because I had to trace it myself, and it wasn't as straightforward as it would first appear. But anyway, it all worked out. So that's been quite good. I quite enjoyed doing it. So, as I say, thanks for the Elixir Martin. You're probably hovering about in your kitchen or wherever it is that your coffee machine is. I'll say very good morning to one and all. Oh, Keith. Sorry, Keith, I didn't give you a report. 5 and 9, Keith. Little bit of QSB, but not much on your signal. And we're glad you got some sunshine. We haven't got any here this morning. What's the temperature? Nearly 14 degrees. So it's not particularly warm, but no wind. I may go and cut some grass, actually, but I think we've got some rain coming over the weekend. So, from me, it goes up to you then, Paul. So, very good morning to any listeners as well. This is F4VFC.
73N from M1PVC. I heard Andy call in. I'm going to bring him in first. G4LJY, M1PVC, and then back to me, Andy. Good morning to you, Andy. Not brilliant. You're about strength 8 here, but you are Q5. A fair bit of a sideband impinging now, which isn't helping, but good to hear you on. Very good morning to Keith. 20 over, Keith. Very good indeed.
as I say, Mike, that microphone that you've changed to is just not modulating it at all. So put that one in the bin, as they say, and go back to the other one and yell into it, and we can probably hear you. And 7-3 Ian, hope you have a good day, you and Carolyn. And 7-3 to you, Tony. Your signal had gone down, Tony, but you were still Q5. And well, the only other comment, as I said, there will be a decoupling capacitor at the top of the choke, but as Dave has pointed out, the choke can be defective and not doing its job. If it's got shorted turns on it, it will still show voltage on the anode of the PA, but the purpose of that choke is to stop RF getting back to the power supply. And it sounds to me that's exactly what you're getting. However, it'd be interesting to know why the power output is down. A shorted turn choke there wouldn't help that issue either. But I see the components to look for, and I didn't quite understand the other choke that Tony was talking about. Normally there would be a parasitic capacitor, which would only consist of 4 or 5 turns, usually wound on a resistor. It's to stop parasitic oscillations at VHF, and certainly it shouldn't be left out. But there you go. As I say, I'm speaking really out of the other end, because I'm not looking at the circuit. I'm just going on what is normal, or what I would expect to be there, but that doesn't always concur. Let's keep it going round. Goes round to you, Dave. G8YFH, M1PVC, and then it goes to Colin G3TSK according to my list. Just as well, because I don't think I've noticed Colin. Morning to you, Colin. You're 10 over here, Colin. Sounding good. No problem this morning. G3TSK, M1PVC.
That's why I've crossed Paul. This is Golf 3 Tango Sierra Kilowatt. Well, I didn't get Dave too well that time. Big drop in signal, Dave. But just as Keith was saying, he's right on the ball there. I wrote an article if you're interested. I can't find it, but if you go on to Bronick, he'd give you the number, I'm sure, and you can read it and make what you want of it. So yes, very interesting set, the Mark III. Very interesting, I thought, and I had a good time with it. But it's a pair I don't use it a great deal. Now then, where am I? Keith, 5 9 plus 20 there. Good signal from you. And look on the painting. Well, I think it's starting to rain here. It was nice and bright, but now it's dulled over very quickly. So I hope it's not outside painting, because the weather can change quite rapidly. And Martin, with your wireless earphones, well, I've heard about them, and it must be very interesting. But there you go. I wonder how they work now. I wonder wonder how they work. And Mike, I could hardly hear you, Mike, I'm afraid. If I heard you, and a very, very good signal, 5 and 9 plus, and you've got 2 19 sets. I don't know where you're allowed to get all the space, you know, for this sort of thing. All the stuff that I've got is packed away, because I just don't have the space in the shack. And Andy, okay on the windy there, the wind. Well, there wasn't a breath of wind here. I looked out through the window, and the trees were all still. Not a breath of wind, so there you go. But you do live in a windy place there, right on top of the hill there, on the ridge there. And I imagine in the winter, the wind will come sweeping across, and what have you. But it's certainly a good view, panoramic view there. And Paul, 300, well, you're plus 40, so it's a good signal. And okay, on the trucks and all the sort of thing, yes, that's dead right. And that's what's good about this association, the Vintage Military Amateur Radio Society, something like that anyway. So much information going around and so much interest, and it certainly brought my interest back. Anyway, that's enough from me. How about that? 2 minutes 45 seconds, right on the dot. 15 seconds to clear up. So, where do I put it to? Let me have a look now. It's Martin on his wireless earphones. And if not, it's Keith with his 5 and 9 plus 20. So over to you, Martin. G3YJO, G3TSK. Go ahead, Martin, please. Over.
G3TSK, G3YJO. Oh, I heard a noise. Oh no, it's just the chair making a noise, I think. Okay, yeah, fine calling my signal, and the wireless headphones, well, they're just, well, I suppose they're domestic hi-fi type things. You get a little, I think they work at about 900. I know they work at 900 megs, and you have just a headset with a little receiver in it, and it's a bit like Bluetooth, except that working at 900 megs, it goes a lot further, so you're able to wander around the house quite conveniently. And in fact, I sort of put an external, there's usually just a little microwave whip on the top of a little plastic transmitter, which you plug into your source, usually a high fiber in the output from the various receivers here. And what I do is take that quarter wave whip off and put a bit of coax on, and then put very crudely and not terribly, and not matching it at all, extended the coax, so we have one whip at this end of the empire, then ran the coax down to the other end of the empire and put another quarter wave half-wave dipole on the other end. That gives good coverage over the whole of the estate, so to speak. So it works really well, and it means I can wander around the house listening to the net. With the only disadvantage is, of course, if you get called in unexpectedly, then you have to dash from one end of the estate to the other in order to get to the microphone. Usually it takes too long, so you either end up breathless or missing the point. But no, it's really useful, and I just nipped down, and whenever it was somebody mentioned it, I was indeed just getting the Elixir machine functioning, and now have that, and so the world is looking a lot better. And it's nice and sunny out. Actually, it's fairly fresh temperature-wise, and there was really quite a strong, well, it was more than a breeze yesterday. The winds were quite strong and gusty, but it looks as if it's died down a bit today, so hopefully it'll be a bit warmer outside, but it's certainly nice and warm air temperature, and the sun was warm yesterday as well. Reports, Keith, 15 to peaking 20 over 9, very nice signal. Colin, still 10 over 9, bit of QSB. Mike, good carrier, but Mod, I'm afraid, was suffering somewhat. Right, let me see. I think it goes on to Keith, and actually interesting to hear the discussions on the transmit receive frequencies on the 19 set because the 19 have a bit of a difference between the two. And it's one of my long-term jobs to be done is to look both at that and the wireless set 60 different in that if I net onto it and then that's it, actually the transmit frequency and the receive netted frequency are about right, but when I then listen, I need to tune off for maximum audio, so I suspect there's some misalignment somewhere in either the IF or possibly the front end, but we'll see. It's just a little bit irritating, and it's one of those things that I've got to dismantle the 62 and the 19 to do, and it comes way after a number of other projects, including the serried ranks of 107s, which, for those who have been following the saga, the next stop is the James Bond laser treatment, which might even get around to today or tomorrow. I was thinking I might go into work when it's quiet, rather than having hordes of people looking over my shoulder as I destroy the panels. Right, G3XGW, G3YJO.
Martin, fine, still very good signal. G3XGW. Alright, well, morning to Andy. You have a good signal, Andy, 5.9. Not perhaps as strong as you have been, but maybe conditions aren't quite that good up there. And Mike. Well, Mike, I got a few words, but not very many. You were only about a 7 with me, which didn't help. But I think you said it was a 1930s microphone, so I think it probably belongs back in the 1930s. And definitely wasn't doing any favours. So not much copy, I'm afraid, Mike. And the 19 set system, it's as I say, intuitively, you would think nothing could possibly go wrong, would you? If you're spot on 0 beat with a BFO on receive, then in theory you must be coming out at the same frequency you're receiving on. But life's not as simple as that, I seem to remember. And certainly there's a difference between the Mark II and the Mark III. And there may be a difference between the British and Canadian or American, but there is certainly some additional complication just to make life more interesting. And Tony, if you're still listening, yeah, well, we'll have to go out for a pint in the not too distant future. And thinking about it, if that 19 set's transmitting, then the BFO must be working. So maybe it's just the net switch, if that's what you use to get the BFO on. Could be something like that. And yeah, I can't remember the function of that choke. I remember we were able to take it out with impunity and throw it away. It's not required functionally. It might be something to do with the aerial position on the meter, because that takes a signal back from the variometer in normal operation, and then has to but that comes back in through the aerial connector, so there's some filtering has to go on there to get the power off the DC for the aerial position. It's a little bit complicated, but I remember that it was burnt out and was causing the problem, and dismissing it and throwing it away or taking it out anyway solved the problem. Colin, do you know, I think it was just the very start of your burbling problem, just on transients. I could just hear a little bit of roughness on the edge. So maybe it's not far away from going into its burbling mode. And yeah, wireless headphones, I use them. Funnily enough, the wireless headphones I use, I gave to my son as a birthday present. Oh my goodness, when he was, probably 12 or something. And eventually they got cast off, and I picked them up again and now use them, and they're extremely useful. I don't think they're up 900 mix, these ones. These are Philips ones. and I had a feeling they were quite a lower frequency than that. They're very useful. You can wander about the place, wander out and go on, still be listening, which is extremely handy. Right, with that I shall probably switch some on now, because I'm going to make this a final, go and get the breakfast ready, and see what the day brings. So with that, I think it goes to Mike. We'll give Mike another 5 seconds and I shall pull a rabbit out of the hat. G3MHX, G3XGW. Cheers all.